I just want to check, how many could, consider themselves? Is it young at heart or young? Young at heart. So lovely having all of you here joining us for the very first of its kind, a youth track session at the annual Africa Conference on Social Entrepreneurship. Is it your first time taking part in the annual Africa Conference on Social Entrepreneurship? It's your first time? Wow. How's your experience been so far? Is it good? Is it meh? Young at heart, meh means it wasn't. It was good. I like that. I like that. It was good. And from this side, to Menyamaza, how has the experience been so far? Educative. So I'm glad that you chose to join us in this session because we have an exciting lineup for you, and we continue to share information and insights from the stakeholders that we have here today. My name is Brian Chisoli. I will be your moderator for this session, but I will just do the intro because the next sessions will be led by someone else. I've made sure that young people will be part of the panel today, and they will be asking questions to a very able panelists who've joined us. So are you excited? Yes. Just checking. The temperature in the room, is it still cold or are we warming up? It's warming up. Really good. I was just about to ask that we stand and jump up and down, but I see there's no need for that. So for this session, we'll be focusing on the growing up experiences of young people, transforming the growing up experiences of young people. This is in learning, this is in work, this is in the different environments that they're in. As I've mentioned, my name is Brian Chisoli. I lead Ashoka East Africa's youth focusing work, which spans across the region. That is Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania. Am I forgetting any other? No, we're covered. So our key objectives at Ashoka is to ensure that every young person masters empathy for the good of all. The second key objective at Ashoka is to ensure that young people, oh wow, I get to see myself on the big screen. So the second key objective is to make sure that young people practice and self-identify as change makers. And as I mentioned earlier on, we have today a really amazing lineup of panelists who come from different organizations that work with young people. They're creating an enabling environment for young people to master the change maker skills. And when we talk about change maker skills, we talk about empathy, we talk about leadership, we talk about teamwork, and we talk about change making itself. So today you will hear from these panelists what they're doing within their organizations, how they're working with stakeholders, and how they're working with young people to transform their growing up experiences so that they master empathy and change making. Does that sound exciting? Or is my voice soothing that you forgot everything that I said? Just checking again. We're good? I can see smiles. So this is going to be an exciting, exciting session. So just before I can see my colleague there saying, it's almost putting me to sleep. Don't worry, I have an activity for us because I'm waiting for our two key guests. I don't know if they're here. Brother Jonas, are you here? Not yet. Is Vincent around? Not yet. Okay. So as we wait for our two key guests to open up today's session, there's something that I do when I work with, be it organizations that work with young people or even young people. But I see Vincent is here. So maybe I will take we'll put that on pause so that we catch up on time. The first session in the morning took a bit of time, and it's my responsibility to ensure that we get to spend our time together, effectively, and we can get to hear from all the speakers. So Vincent, I've already done the background. Can I invite you to the stage? So I'd like to invite, yes please, a round of applause for the Regional Director, Vincent Odhiambo, Ashoka East Africa.
Good afternoon. There's so many empty chairs in front. I don't know if we can move and come closer. They say, families that stay together, do all together. So can we come and be a bit together from that side? Please, kindly. so that then we can have, sort of a very intimate, conversation. Thank you. So this is a very important discussion. This is a very important track. But the reason why, if I may just give a bit of info why this is important to us and why we feel confident that this is something that we need to do, it's pretty obvious. The youngest continent is Africa. I mean, it has a population of, 190 million, thereabout, and 60% of that are young people. And we keep on talking about this population of young people as a dividend. But the one thing that we don't so often take intentionally around this dividend is that if we don't harness it, then it will only remain statistics. It only remains a number. So that then there is actually no dividend around it. And if you look keenly, there is a lot of disservice that is happening to young people in terms of growing up experience, learning experience, work experience, whether in employment or in terms of innovating, because here we've been talking about social innovation and social entrepreneurship. There's a lot of disservice. If you look at the parenting style, how many of you here are parents? Let's just see. And they always say, you cannot prescribe parenting how it should be done. Every parent knows how it should be done. But obviously, there is something that ought to be different when it comes to parenting. And this boils down to the ability to give children at a very young age, that growing experience, the space to grow in confidence and the space to grow this sense of freedom that they can actually do things. And parenting is also basically informed by what was happening during the industrial times, industrial age, agrarian age, which is so much subservient. So it's children are here to be seen, not to be. Not to be? How many parents have told their kids that you're here to be seen and not to be heard? It happens a lot. And what that does is that it stifles the confidence and the sense of freedom, which is critical for innovation, for change making, for entrepreneurial mindset to grow. So when you think about growing up experience, the entire socialization mechanics, from parents to everyone around them, something has to happen. Something has to change. When you come to education also, and this is not just education in Africa, it's global. But in Africa, it's double jeopardy. One, the education system across the globe is for the industrial time, where you go through school, and the thinking is that when you are done, whatever you have learned, you'll continue doing that. So because of you have studied medicine, that is entirely what you will continue doing. But that's not the case now, not necessarily. People are changing. And so for Africa, it's double jeopardy because it's also not just to produce factory workers, because it was producing factory workers across. And that's why there is a lot of disconnect between companies or organizations or corporates that are innovative, struggling to find innovative talent. There's a disconnect. So the education system is producing factory workers, and then in Africa it's producing subservient factory workers. There could be colonial legacy around that, but that's just the way it is. And then if you come to the space of work, that also has really changed. I mean, it's not the way it used to be. One, there's a lot of disruption, maybe because of technology, technological advancement. There are new opportunities that didn't exist before. There is also a sense of many people trying to find their purpose, because we are talking, it's not about profit, it's also about purpose. So many young people are trying to purpose. And again, in terms of innovation, in terms of social entrepreneurship, we're also seeing so many new ideas popping up across the continent, and more often than not, you'll find it's a young person. But because there's so many barriers, just even an established entrepreneur struggles to move, you can imagine for young people also. So the conversation we want to have here is acknowledging if there are barriers for even established entrepreneurs to succeed, to accelerate their innovation, how about for young people? There are so many barriers. There are so many barriers, but also there are so many opportunities for us to be creative around how do we move those barriers. And then also, most importantly, how do we align across that growing up, learning, and work or innovation experience for young people, that entire value chain. And so in the room here, we have people who are already figuring that out in terms of how they're rethinking how socialization for young people should look like. There are people here and institutions here who are rethinking education. I think one of them, as we are at Tangaza University, we've heard what Tangaza University is doing. But also the other universities, like Kriara University represented here, who are already realizing it is now or never in terms of how do we prepare the next entrepreneurs, how do we prepare the next first-class employees for those who may feel comfortable working within institutions and being innovators within those institutions. There are institutions that are rethinking their systems, their culture, their processes to redefine what success looks like at the workplace so that that which many people are now looking for, the purpose, is found. And also adults who have now begin to really realize that our role is basically to be allies of the young people, helping move barriers for them. And so it was not by accident that there is a youth track in the annual Africa Conference on Social Entrepreneurship. Because if you're thinking broadly that the next big thing that is going to happen should happen in Africa, and we're thinking it has to be around entrepreneurship, around innovation, and we're thinking how do we get the ecosystem to be more collaborative, then also in terms of growing up, learning, and working experience for young people, there has to be some kind of alignment so that it's not just the higher education that is getting right, it's not just the work, space that is getting it right, or the innovation ecosystem that is getting it right, and yet everyone else is not getting it right. So that's a conversation that this track is seeking to have, to listen more to the young people, to get insights and knowledge and inspiration also from those who are already doing this right. And then at the end of the day, it is for us to have that collective visioning. If we are going to have every young person self-identifying as a change maker, practicing change making, what do we need to do along that growing up, learning, and work experience? I'd like to stop there for now and hand it off back to Brian. But thank you so much for being part of this. Thank you so much for helping us, advance this conversation. But most importantly, there is no way the ideas that we probably have as a AACOSE, and like I said, Brother Jonas is actually here, would get to that big better if we don't have the different voices that we have in the room, the different experiences that we have in the room. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent. A round of applause, please. Oh, come on, we can do better than that. A round of applause for Vincent. And thank you so much for framing that for us. And as we proceed, Vincent, and the guests that we have today, I just want to share my appreciation to the partners that we have, as Vincent has mentioned. We've been working with Riada University, which is present, represented. We have Ashoka Fellows, Irene Mutumba is here, represented. We have the Young Scientists of Kenya, Gold Youth, we have Trace Academia represented, we have Dignitas represented. We also have, but I'll put a pause there. As I continue mentioning these organizations, what I want to do is to encourage you to find time towards the end of the day to begin to connect with the youth-led and youth-focusing organizations that we have. because we want to facilitate a space where you can collaborate and connect so that we can transform the growing up experiences of young people. And without far much to do, Brother Jonas, I'd like to welcome you on stage, the Director of the Institute of Social Transformation, Brother Jonas. Round of applause, please.
Good afternoon. I think there is something special about this room with the young people, especially this week. I think on Monday, we had a session similar to this with the Professor Mohamed Yunus, where we were saying, having conversation on innovation with the Professor Mohamed Yunus, and the hall was full like today. And the whole idea was, again, the trust, the confidence in the youth, and what we should do, or what the youth should do. And Professor Mohamed Yunus is also, again, passionate about youth as a force to transform this continent. I think we were never tired of talking about the issue of the youth. We cannot. Even if it means organizing forum after forum to talk about the youth, the issue of the youth, I think we have to do it. Because the fact is that the youth, they are the asset, the greatest asset we have on this continent. The challenge is that we are not utilizing them. We are not maximizing on this asset. I've worked for so many years, over the last 20 years, with youth. And my conclusion is there are categories of youth. I think there are many people here who are working with youth and all that. There are different categories. You have youth, let me start maybe, and then I go up. The first category are the youth who think that everything should be given to them on a silver platter. And they have all kinds of excuses not to try anything. Okay, that's one category. The second category is those who think that for them to do anything, you need to give them a lot of money. That's another category. You ask them to do anything, they start with money. If I'm wrong, the youth, they can raise their hand and tell me you are wrong, and then I will accept. And the third category, we can have many more. The third is the category of youth who are willing to dare. Daring, having the spirit of daring. Okay. So, what I want to say, I'm told I have 2 minutes. Sometimes when I start talking, my break breaks. So I don't stop. So what I want to say is that the youth are allowed to make mistakes. I think it's the age where you are allowed to make mistakes. And nobody is going to crucify you for making mistakes. So that takes that as an advantage on your side. And when you make mistake and you say, yeah, I'm trying. I'm a young person, I'm trying. Actually, people will appreciate the efforts of trying something and making mistake and learning from that. Okay? So my first invitation is for the youth is you have the green card to try, make mistake, and fail. Nobody will condemn you. If somebody condemns you, tell the person, that person, you are wrong. We are told at Tangaza University College that we have the right to dare, to try, and fail. Okay? Second things, in life, you always need people who hold your hands, especially when you are young, when you are youth. You see? Because you can ask all the people, those of certain age, okay? They will tell you, they are where they are because they found people who kind of help them, hold their hand. The question I want to ask the youth in this room, who is holding your hand? Are you walking alone? Are you walking alone? If you're walking alone, I think you'll get lost. Find a mentor, somebody who can hold your hand, help you, advise you. Life is tough. I normally tell people, if somebody tells life is easy, no. Out there is tough. You all know it, huh? You all know it. You know, when my students, they come back to me after 1 or 2 years trying outside there and say, I've tried everything. Nothing is working. I don't have a job. I say, yeah, I told you, life is tough. Now you're facing it. So, because life is tough, there are some people who have already walked that journey. You don't have to make, you can learn from them. They can guide you. So, my last thing, then I stop, is get somebody who can journey with you. Somebody you can share your idea to say, I want to do this. Can I try this? Will guide you. I think with that, you'll be the youth that we want for this continent, who are really, really dedicated to transform this continent. We count on you. We believe in you. We count on you. Thank you.
And thank you, Brother Jonas, for that. I want to believe the third category are change makers, those who dare to dream. Young people who've been able to master empathy, and they're actioning it for the good of all, and they're self-identifying as change makers. And I'm excited to